Five Nights at Freddy's is probably one of the most popular horror franchises out there. There's a bunch of games, there's a movie with another one coming, there's a cookbook. I don't know why anyone would want that, but it's there. This August, FNAF turns 10 years old, meaning that it will finally be as old as the average fan. And I thought that there's no better way to start celebrating the anniversary than making a video about one of, if not the most controversial game in the franchise, Security Breach. Security Breach was first announced on August 8th, 2019. The game then made an appearance in a PlayStation 5 showcase event, which was seemingly a good sign for the game's quality. I mean, they showed things like Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and God of War Ragnarok in this thing. If Freddy Fazbear got in, then this game must be good. Security Breach also showed up in a PlayStation State of Play, which is like a Nintendo Direct if it wasn't good. Honestly, the trailers for the game were pretty good, and the game seemed promising. Then it came out. Yeah, so Security Breach wasn't exactly received very well, which makes sense. The game wasn't scary at all. The main villain shows up for like 10 seconds in the entire game. The story makes no sense, and a lot of people didn't like the gameplay. Also, it was incredibly buggy. Like, I don't even know how some of these bugs happened. So now that it's been over 2 years since the game came out, I want to take a look at Security Breach and talk about what works and what doesn't. I'm not going to talk about Ruin. I'd rather say that for its own video, and honestly, this video will be long enough without it. Well, I suck at writing intros, and it's going to end this now and start talking about the...
Guys? Is this Freddy Fazbear?
Okay, I'm gonna start talking about the gameplay of Security Breach because I'd rather complain about the story later. Also, I think it's a fun game. The main gameplay loop of Security Breach consists of trying to get from point A to point B in a room while avoiding staff bots and animatronics patrolling the area. Getting caught by a staff bot won't kill you, but it will call an animatronic over. Most rooms have hiding spots, cameras, and distractions, but the only thing I really found useful were the cameras. I used distractions 3 times, and 2 of them were pretty much required to progress, and I just never used a hiding spot, and it honestly didn't make the game much harder. Hiding spots are especially pointless when you get the Phaser Blaster or Phaz Cam, because you can just use those to stun the animatronics. The Phaz Cam is especially overpowered as you can stun multiple animatronics at once. And even if an animatronic finds you, avoiding them isn't really that hard, mostly because they're kind of stupid. They can be chasing you, but if you turn a corner, they will just forget where you are. They're especially easy to avoid if you have the running shoes and fizzy Phazes, because not only will you be a lot faster than them, you also have a lot more stamina. Also, Freddy is your friend in this game, so you can hide inside of his stomach hatch in order to avoid all the animatronics. If an animatronic sees you go into a hiding spot, they'll catch you, but they won't do anything if they see you go into Freddy. However, Freddy has a terrible battery life, so you have to recharge him at a recharge station before he loses all of his power and accidentally jump scares you. I think this gameplay loop is pretty fun, even if it gets easier as the game progresses, which isn't really how difficulty progression should work. Anyways, this game has a lot of gameplay moments that don't revolve around sneaking through a room, so I'm gonna go over those now. The first of these moments is the chasing at the start of the game, and it's fine. With one exception, the chases in this game just aren't very good, especially the mini Music Man chases. They're just really boring and visually uninteresting. To compare the mini Music Man chases to something like the Molly Macaw chase in Indigo Park, because I don't know, I want to talk about that game again. The Molly chase takes place in colorful play structures with some bounce pads, meaning you have to quickly spin around to get to a higher platform, adding some difficulty. Also, you're running fast, so the chase feels more intense, and the music is loud. But the Music Man chases in Security Breach take place in an event that doesn't really stand out visually. You're crouching, so the chase feels slow, and there's not any intense music or anything, so the chase doesn't really feel intense. I mean, I guess there's loud running noises, but it just doesn't make the chases scary, and also they're just really easy. I played this game twice, and I haven't died at this thing once, but you know what, I don't know, maybe I'm just some sort of Freddy Fazbear pro. Also, there's so much of these chases that they eventually just become an annoyance. After the chasing at the start, there's a daycare section where you have to turn on 5 generators in the daycare, but one of the animatronics, the daycare attendant, is in his moon form and trying to catch you. It's definitely one of the scarier parts of the game. It doesn't make me shake in my boots or anything, but it's still a fun section. I'd ask why there's generators in a place where little babies play, but honestly, that sounds like something Fazbear Entertainment would do. After the daycare, you have the choice to either go to the prize counter or loading docks. I'm gonna talk about the prize counter gameplay first because that's the one I did. Once you sneak past Roxy in the arcade, you get to the security office where you have to watch the cameras to see where Monty and Roxy are and close the doors when they're near the office. So it's like the classic Freddy Fazbear games. This is one of my favorite parts of Security Breach, honestly. I wish it was more of these segments throughout the game, but unfortunately, this is the only one. Anyways, if you go to the loading docks, then you have to control a staff bot and make pizza for Glamrock Chica before the power on your door runs out. I like the section as well. Running around trying to find certain topping was pretty fun, and I like the ending of the section. Jump scare warning, I guess. Next is a section similar to the prize counter where Roxy and Monty will be at your doors and you have to electrocute them to make them go away, while also opening the doors for Freddy before the game's main antagonist, Vanny, gets you. I like this section, but I think it's a bit too easy. Not only do you have more than enough time to get Freddy over to you, but keeping Roxy and Monty away is really easy. You just walk up to their door, press a button to electrocute them, and then you just skedaddle away. Afterwards is the endoskeleton section where you have to get the security badge while avoiding the endoskeletons who only move when you don't look at them. Much like the daycare section is actually kind of scary, but it's also pretty easy. Near the end, you can pretty much just run past all the endoskeletons and not die. Once you get away from the endoskeletons, you have to do a minigame in Parts and Service to help prepare Freddy. The Parts and Service sections are easily one of my least favorite parts of the game. They're also similar and also just slightly broken. I kept dying during the part where I was giving Freddy Monty's claws, even though I was definitely clicking on the right buttons. Jump scare warning again, I guess.
Now close the casing.
Also, the parking service where you give Freddy Roxy's eyes is so stupid. It happens right before the end of the game, and you can't save once you finish it. If you die while trying to escape, you have to do the unfun parking service section again. So awesome! After the first parking service section, you can either choose to ruin Monty's life or ruin Chica's life. I decided to ruin Monty's life first, since that unlocks the fast cam. I'm gonna talk about the Chica section right after, but you can't actually destroy the other animatronic until you beat the game. So the next section is Mazer Size. Ew. In Maze Size, you have to move parts of a maze in order to access a vent. You can do this by pushing a lot of buttons. I don't really think Maze Size is terrible or anything. It's nowhere near as bad as in like Night 4 Sister Location or the Gobble achievement in VR, but it's just not very fun. If you want to be the puzzle, you either have to be a real life young Sheldon or hit a bunch of random buttons, which obviously is what I did. Once you get to the vent at the end of the maze, you get to the Monty fight, and honestly, I don't know if this is a common sentiment or not, but I think this is the scariest part of the game. In the fight, you have to shoot a target enough times so you can push a button and ruin Monty's life by crushing him with a bunch of balls. However, while you're trying to hit the target, Monty is chasing you. I think what makes the fight so scary to me is the fact that Monty can jump from place to place, so you can be running somewhere and Monty suddenly jumps in front of you, and I find that really scary, even though it probably isn't that scary to anyone that doesn't get scared at smallest amount of sudden movement like I do. Once you beat Monty, you have to do another stupid part in Sarah's section, which I did not like. If you decide to ruin Chica's life first, you'll play through Fazer Blast, which is actually pretty fun. Your goal is to capture 3 flags while shooting alien staff bots and avoiding Chica, while also going through a maze, and I enjoyed the section a lot. I wish you were able to play it again after initially beating it. Next is the DJ Music Man section, where you have to reset 3 breakers while avoiding staff bots, Glamour Chica, Monty, and DJ Music Man. And honestly, this is my favorite part of the game, even if I wish DJ Music Man was more of a threat. This section is just really fast paced and intense. It feels more like a chase scene than the mini Music Man chases do. Speaking of which, this section actually does end with DJ Music Man chasing you, and I really like that part. His entrance was cool. Also, the music in the section is really good. I like how it changes every time you reset a breaker. I really like the environment for this section as well. The arcade, it looks pretty cool. So once you escape from DJ Music Man, you get to run over Roxy with a go-kart. Wait, no, that happens in a cutscene. Honestly, I'm pretty sure this game would have gotten a lot better reviews if you actually got to run over one of the animatronics. In fact, there are scrap driving mechanics in the game, implying that there was either going to be a racing minigame or that you would actually get to run Roxy over. I'm not sure why I got cut, but I don't know, maybe Stewart decided that driving has no place in a Five Nights at Freddy's game. Hey, wait. Running over Roxy leads to the Roxy fight. We have to make noise to lead her to wooden doors so she breaks them. It's fine, I guess. I would have rather had an actual boss fight like the one with Monty. After this is the final part in the service section, and then it's 6 AM, so you have to run to the exit and beat the game. Also, at the end of every hour, Moon will show up and you have to run to a recharge station before he catches you. These sections are so pointless that it might as well not even be here. I'm pretty sure they were only added because Steel will realize that the daycare attendant doesn't show up after the daycare section. Half the time, the recharge station is like 2 seconds away, and the other half, it's like 10 seconds away. So that's all the gameplay sections of the game that don't really have much to do with main stealth gameplay. I didn't include the Glamour Chica fight because it's pretty much just another stealth section. I wasn't talk about the Princess Quest games or the Burntrap fight because I'm saving the Princess Quest games for when I talk about the Vanny ending and the Burntrap for when I complain about Burntrap. However, I'm still not done talking about the gameplay because I have one more thing to talk about. In most games that were made after Pong, saving is usually done automatically or through the main menu. Some games even have both ways of saving. Security Breach has neither. Where you save your game Security Breach is by walking up to those screens with a little helpy animation, holding E, and waiting for the circle to be complete. Honestly, I don't really mind this way of saving. I think the save spots are placed pretty fairly, though auto-saving would have been nice. What I do have a problem with is the fact that once you finish the game, all save spots but one are disabled. I have no idea why anyone thought this would be a good idea. I don't think a single person enjoys running back over to the atrium to save whenever they collect a present or do something for an ending. From a game development standpoint, it was probably easier to just leave the save stations alone than to make code to disable all but one at the end of the game. And to make things even worse, when the game first came out, every save spot was disabled. Want to collect every present in the game or get every ending? Well, you should remember to get presents and do stuff for endings before 6 AM, because now you gotta do all that without dying or closing the game. Of course, this is Security Breach, and the game was even buggier at launch than it is now, so there's a chance that your game will crash or you'll glitch into a wall or something, meaning that you have no choice but to close the game and lose all the potential progress you made. Whoever decided to remove all saves was probably trying to sabotage the game, and while there's one save spot now, that still doesn't excuse the fact that the game released in a way that makes doing anything after beating the game an absolute chore. But now let's talk about some random stuff about the game.
Be advised, enemies have deployed Freddy Fazbear.
I think the pizza place is fun to explore. It's just like a really cool environment. It's really colorful, and I like all the art that can be found around the place, even if sometimes the art placement is a bit weird. Like sometimes there's art right next to each other that have two completely different art styles, and some themed art is placed in areas that have nothing to do with that theme. I don't really mind if there's Monty Go for Fazer Blast art and random unthemed hallways, but sometimes there are areas with an actual theme. I mostly noticed this with the Fazer Blast art. The Daycare and DJ Music Man stage have Fazer Blast art even though they have nothing to do with Fazer Blast. Of course, I don't really care about this a lot. My experience was ruined because Space Freddy Fazbear was in the Daycare when he should have been in the space area. But I just thought I should point it out. The game has so much cut content, the YouTuber TetraBitGaming made an hour-and-a-half long series covering all the cut content in this game. I assumed a lot of content got cut because of time constraints, but I feel like plenty of it could have been added in a future update. Things like the survival mode and minigames would have made this game a lot more replayable. I mean, I guess Ruin did add Chica's feeding frenzy and the rest of Monty Golf, and help wanted to unfortunately added Bonnie Bowl, but I think they should have also kept the minigame menu so you can just play whatever minigame you want without having to run over to them or switch between Security Breach and Ruin depending on what you want to play. Also, with the files, there's a menu that allows you to go to certain parts of the game, and like, why would they remove that? What if I wanted to play the DJ Music Man section but didn't want to play through the entire game again? Why would they remove something so simple that could have added so much more replayability to this game? By the way, the survival mode I just mentioned was pretty much complete, so why not add it? Also, character gallery got cut for some reason, which I find really weird. The character gallery has been in every mainline game since 3, with the exception of Pizza Simulator by Custom Night, so I don't understand why it was cut from Security Breach and never added in an update. Like, it's a character gallery. I can't imagine it has a lot of game-breaking bugs, and from the looks of it, the gallery is mostly complete. So I guess they just cut it because they just didn't feel like adding it. Of course, I can't talk about Security Breach without talking about how unstable this game was at launch, because it was bad. The amount of bugs this game had when it first came out was absolutely insane, and it's made worse by the fact that this game cost $40. The fact the game released the way it did is inexcusable, and while a lot of the bugs have been fixed, people paid $40 to play this game when it came out because they expected it to actually work, not because they expected it to work a couple months later. I didn't really find a lot of bugs in my 2 playthroughs of this game, but I did find a really weird one where Chica followed me in the kitchen while I was inside of Freddy. I don't know why that happens, and it caused me to get stuck in a wall the first time it happened. I'll get into 2 more examples later, but this game has some really weird censorship. Like, Freddy Fazbear didn't go on a crazy swearing spree that just needed to be censored or anything. The things that got censored are words like kill. Why would they censor a word probably found in SpongeBob in this T-rated game? I'm not really a fan of how the humans look. There's just something off about Gregory and Vanessa's design that I can't really put my finger on. Also, the pre-rendered cutscenes in this game look really good, and I like how in the first one, you can see Chica running over to Freddy right before he powers down and dies. Voice acting in this game is really good as well, especially for Sun and Moon. They're both voiced by the same person, which is probably an assault on the throat since they both sound like this.
Hello, new friend. You're sure I'm late. It's past your bedtime.
I like how in the credits it says that the staff bots are voiced by themselves, since an AI voice is used in order to let the staff bot showcase very complex emotions.
Hi, please take this map. Take a map.
I'm done talking about the section, so it's time to start talking about the
Gregory, do you see the small vent on the floor? Have you ever heard of Among Us?
So now it's finally time to talk about some story related stuff. I'm gonna start by talking about the game's characters, just so people who know nothing about this game know who they are. I won't be talking about Burntrap though. Gregory is the game's main character, and as we'll soon see, he is quite the despicable individual. One of the issues I have with Gregory is the fact that he just doesn't react to anything happening. This was a problem in the old games as the protagonist was silent, so reactions weren't expected. Not only is Gregory not a silent protagonist, but he's also a child. I just find it weird that this small child does and experiences absolutely terrifying things, like crushing an evil robot alligator with a bunch of balls, which turns him into this, goes, well that just happened, and then moves on to his next victim. Unlike in the other FNAF games, the titular character, Freddy Fazbear, is actually an important part of the story. Pretty novel concept, I know. He doesn't act like the other animatronics, so he's an evil, and he helps Gregory survive in the Pizzaplex. Also, he's kind of stupid, which I'll get into later. Glamour Chica is only one of the original animatronics in this game, because the other one died, and unfortunately, she's easily the least developed of the animatronics. All she does in this game is eat food. I get that's like what Chica does, but this is the first game to actually give the animatronics personalities, so, you know, do something with it. Kind of wish they did something with the fact that Glamour Freddy and Chica are the only original animatronics in the game. I guess they kind of did do something like this in the opening, but I don't know, I wish they did more. I really like Monty. His whole thing is that he's a very aggressive, super angry Florida man, but he's made more interesting by the fact that he potentially killed Glamour Bonnie in order to take his spot in the band because, I don't know, he got bored of golf. Also, it's implied that he hates Freddy, which also makes it more interesting. Roxy's the only animatronic that really has any character development, which is good, but wish that the others also got some of that, especially Freddy, since, you know, he's one of the main characters. Roxy starts the game thinking that she's the bestest person ever, but after Gregory ruins her life by running her over with a Mario Kart, she's sad. I never said it was particularly good character development, but you know, it's something. The Daycare tent is actually a really cool idea for an animatronic, but unfortunately the idea was executed pretty poorly. The Daycare tent is technically two animatronics. While the lights are on, he's Sun, who like Freddy is friendly. However, when the lights get turned off, he turns into Moon, who's a devious little fellow that gets mad when children are up playing Roblox past their bedtime. My problem with the Daycare tent is that the Sun form is barely utilized. He shows up when you first get into Daycare, then he shows up again to ban you from the Daycare. Sun can be removed from the game and nothing would change. Of course, I can't talk about this game's characters without mentioning the most important one, Comedy Bot.
As you might have noticed, I am a robot. You know what the difference between humans and robots is. Humans are like wire. I am going to get old and die. Robots are like, I will outlive you all. What a great audience.
Okay, I guess it's time to talk about Vanny. In the game Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, you play as Vanessa, a beta tester for the Fazbear Virtual Experience, which is a horrible name for a game, by the way. Anyways, much like Security Breach, obvious bugs weren't fixed in the Fazbear Virtual Experience before handing it to playtesters, which leads to Vanessa encountering Glitchtrap, a virus in the form of a rabbit. The game ends with Glitchtrap possessing Vanessa, and later on in Help Wanted's Curse of Dreadbeard DLC, a secret white rabbit mask can be found, and holding it next to Glitchtrap plush hints at Vanessa, or Vanny, being the next antagonist of the franchise. After one game and one DLC of setup, what does Vanny do in Security Breach, the game where she's meant to be the main villain? Nothing, really. She shows up around 4 or 5 times throughout the entire game, and the only way you'll get caught by her or even see her, honestly, is by moving at like a mile an hour. In fact, excluding TV screens and endings, I only saw Vanny twice in the entire game. She first shows up after the Daycare section where she does a goofy walk and Freddy thinks she's a fountain because he can't see her for some reason, I don't know. Vanny's next appearance is after the prize counts for loading docks when Vanessa catches you and puts you in Lost and Found, meaning they have to make a very quick walk over to the elevator to escape Vanny. I was looking behind me while I was going there, and I even waited in the elevator for around 5 seconds, and I just didn't see her. Her third appearance is in the section where you're in the office and have to electrocute the animatronics and get Freddy over to you before the 5-minute timer runs out, as if it does run out, Vanny will get you. I finished staying in 1 minute and 15 seconds, so I also didn't see Vanny then. I finally did see Vanny in her fourth appearance, but only because she was stuck on an escalator. Great. Either that Vanny is buried in the game wasn't bad enough, but also the fact that the one important thing she does for the plot, which is hack all of Freddy's friends, probably wasn't even done by her, since in the Burntrap ending, he begins hacking Freddy by slapping a TV screen. Who thought it was a good idea to take the one thing Vanny does for the plot away from her and give it to this dumb old man? I mean, the Burntrap ending probably isn't even canon, so maybe Vanny did actually hack the animatronics, but I don't know, this game confuses me even more than the other games in this franchise do, which is saying a lot. It's honestly a shame that Vanny did pretty much nothing the entire game, even though she's the main villain, because I do think that she could have been a pretty cool character. Like, what if Vanessa actually did something for the plot and help Gregory by sending him messages through his Faz watch or something, I don't know, and then Vanny shows up more. Not only would this have meant that Vanessa and Vanny actually would have had something to do in this game, but also would have made the reveal that they were the same person more impactful. Except there's a chance that they actually aren't the same person. In a masterfully crafted ending where Freddy Fazbear sets the Pizzaplex on fire using the lighter in his finger and sacrifices himself by pushing Vanny off of the roof, Gregory finally unmasked Vanny, and obviously Vanessa under the mask. But then there's a shot of Vanessa on the roof of the Pizzaplex staring down at the ground. What? I'm not even gonna try to understand what this is because it doesn't make any sense, but I don't know, game theory probably figured out what this meant.
The average male height of a human being is 5 foot 6 inches tall, 1.67 meters. The average female is 5'2" or 1.57 meters. Our crewmates in Among—
I know I've complained about Vanny a lot, but I actually do think that 2 aspects of her character were done well. The first, her design, I really like it and I think it's cool that it's reminiscent of Glitchtrap, since, you know, he's the reason Vanny exists. The second thing that's done well is how cartoony Vanny's movements are. It takes away a lot of potential scare factor she could have had, and it's really silly, but that's why I like it. Also, Vanny was initially gonna have a knife, but it was cut from the final game because it was just too violent for a game of a T rating. Hopefully Vanny does more in future games. I thought she wouldn't appear anymore after Security Breach, since a presumably canon ending has Gregory getting rid of Glitchtrap from Vanessa's brain or something. But Vanny appears in Help Wanted 2, which took place after Security Breach. I mean, when she shows up there, she crushes Glitchtrap, so maybe Vanny really is gone, but I don't know, hopefully she's still a part of the story. Speaking of the story,
Don't stay up all day watching Darman videos.
the story of the game is the reason why I decided to make this video, because this story makes no sense. One could even say that it's like the Titanic.
A total disaster!
Security Breach starts off a cutscene that introduces Freddy Fazbear and his Faz gang as to do a jaw-dropping performance. However, Freddy suddenly starts glitching out and he falls to the ground and dies. Of course, I'm joking, but this game probably would have gotten better reviews if it was free and then right here. After this, Freddy's back in his room, as revealed that a child hid inside of his stomach for some reason, and that child is Gregory. Okay, so my question is, how in understand why did Gregory get inside of Freddy. Not only was Freddy probably in an area inaccessible to guests, but also what motivates someone to hide in a small, cramped area of exposed machinery. So Freddy tells Gregory to go to the security guard Vanessa for help, but Gregory says that he doesn't trust Vanessa, he doesn't ask for her help, because as I said earlier, she's secretly Vanny. Except I lied, like the liar I am, because at this point in the story, Gregory and Freddy haven't met Vanny yet. They first encounter her after the daycare segment. Also, the part of the game where they actually learn her name is completely optional. You can even access it before you beat the game if you decide to ruin Monty's life instead of Chica's, so that's great. Anyways, Freddy says that he can help Gregory escape the pizza place before the doors close at 12 AM, so he and Gregory go to the maintenance tunnels. However, Freddy says that Gregory's broken, so he takes him to first aid. This part makes no sense for two reasons. Reason A, what does broken even mean? The original line had Freddy saying that Gregory was bleeding, but even mentioning blood is just too violent for this T-rated game. Now it's just really confusing. Reason 2 for why this part makes no sense is because once Gregory goes inside of first aid, nothing is done to resolve the problem of him being broken, but it presumably did get solved because it never gets brought up again. This part is pointless and I have no idea why it's here. After the chasing with the other three animatronics, which sees Gregory at the main entrance. Unfortunately, the main door is closed before they can leave, meaning that he has to wait until 6 AM for them to open again. Also, I just want to point out that Glamour Chica is the animatronic patrolling the main lobby, which is weird because in between the chase scene and Gregory going to the main lobby, there's a short part where we have to exit the room that Glamour Chica is patrolling. It's like, why would Glamour Chica be patrolling the main lobby if it was just established that she was patrolling the room right before it? Anyways, after this, Gregory goes to the daycare in order to get security badge and reunite with Freddy. This is where Sun is introduced and he warns you not to turn off the lights because then something super scary will happen. However, since security sucks at this place, taking the security badge causes the lights to turn off, which turns Sun into Moon. Thankfully, after all the generators turned on, Moon turns back into Sun, who bans Gregory from the daycare. Sun will not show up again. So Gregory and Freddy reunite, and then Gregory sees Vanny for the first time. Cool, I guess, I don't know. Then I go to the atrium and Gregory makes his way to loading dock surprise counter. Unfortunately, Vanessa does a spooky scary jump scare and takes Gregory to Lost and Found. We have to go to the elevator and escape Vanny. However, once Gregory gets to the elevator, Freddy calls him and tells him to use the boxes that he piled up next to the construction fence of Roxy's Raceway second floor entrance. Once Gregory gets there, Freddy informs him that something is wrong because he missed his hourly recharge and he was trying to get a part in service to get fixed. I don't know why they decided the reason Freddy's broken is because he missed his hourly recharge, because on the way to get the boxes Freddy put up, you pass by a recharge station. So Gregory does stuff to get a part in service, and when he gets there, Moon shows up and kidnaps Freddy for some reason. I don't know, I guess he just felt like it. After going through the endoskeleton room, Gregory sees Freddy and Vanessa in part in service, where Vanessa reveals that she thinks that Freddy's helping Gregory. And she said that if she catches Freddy helping Gregory, Freddy's gonna get fired. Holy crap, now the stakes are really high. Vanessa shows up one more time after this, and I'm honestly not even sure if you can get caught by her. After fixing Freddy, Gregory finds out that the other animatronics have gotten certain upgrades, like Chica having a new voice box, Roxy having new eyes, and Monty having new claws. Gregory says that if he gets these parts, he can upgrade Freddy. However, Freddy tells Gregory not to hurt his friends, as they're usually nice and are only evil because something is wrong with them. So anyways, the rest of the game consists of Gregory going out of his way to try and murder all of Freddy's friends in quite convoluted and brutal ways. I'm like, there's absolutely no point in Gregory doing this. His only goal is to survive until 6 AM, and walking up to the animatronics to try and kill them isn't exactly a great way of staying alive. I mean, sure, killing the animatronics would mean that they wouldn't be a threat, most dead people aren't, but I don't know, why doesn't Gregory just hide inside of Freddy? None of the animatronics can hurt Gregory inside of Freddy. It would have been a much safer way of avoiding them. The problem with the main goal being to survive until 6 AM is that it's really hard to give a reason as to why Gregory does the things he does. It makes sense why he goes into the daycare, he's trying to reunite with Freddy, but after that, Gregory could just hid somewhere while he's trying to get security badges to upgrade Freddy. How does it help him accomplish his goal of surviving? It really doesn't. Doing these things doesn't make it get to 6 AM faster, that's not how time works, and Gregory just putting himself in danger by doing these things, so why do them? I mean, I get it, if Gregory and Freddy decided to hide somewhere until 6 AM, there wouldn't be a game, but that's just such a lazy reason as to why they don't hide. What if instead, Gregory and Freddy don't hide because Vanny would come for them if they stayed in one place for too long? Not only would that have given an actual reason as to why they don't hide, but it actually would have given the main villain of the game some screen time. If only Seoul thought of something like this. Oh wait, they did! You see, in a scrap survival mode, there was a thing called the Vanny meter, and from what I can gather, the meter will go up if Gregory stays in one spot for too long, and when it gets fully filled, Vanessa will turn to Vanny and try to kill Gregory. Why was this not added to the game? Also, Gregory actively trying to kill Freddy's friends right after he said not to makes Gregory kind of unlikable. What if instead Gregory went to the animatronics areas for completely unrelated reasons and gets tapped by an animatronic, leaving no choice but to push them into trash compactors? I mean, still wouldn't change the fact that he could just hid somewhere instead, but whatever. So after fixing Freddy, Gregory tries to kill either Monty or Chica. I went with Monty, so I'm just gonna go with that. And he takes Monty's claws and gives them to Freddy, who doesn't realize that Gregory gave him Monty's claws. Like, Freddy asked Gregory where he got these claws. Gregory says that he'd rather not say, which is the most suspicious thing anybody could ever say when someone asks him where they got something. Then Freddy says that now he can smash through fences like Monty, and Gregory responds by saying,
exactly like he did.
Is Freddy stupid? Is he epic dumb? How does he not realize that Gregory gave him Monty's claws? So anyways, then Gregory goes to try and run Roxy over and steal her eyes, but Gregory is too short to drive the go-karts, which means that he needs to go get the driver's spot's head back onto it. Okay, this really isn't a problem problem at all, but I kind of wonder what the target demographic for these go-karts are. I'm pretty sure most go-karts are meant for young kids, but if this 10-year-old is too short for these go-karts, who are they made for? I can't imagine much teenagers or adults would want to go to Freddy Fazbear's to drive go-karts. Actually, maybe they would. The Pizzaplex is pretty cool. Anyways, Gregory finds the driver's spot's head, but it's broken, so he needs to repair it at the West Arcade. So once Gregory fixes the head, he runs over Roxy and takes her eyes. Then he goes part in service and upgrades Freddy. Also, when you get to the atrium while making your way to part in service, you can see Roxy patrolling, which makes no sense. Like, this now blind robot that was underground in a fire somehow made her way to the atrium before a small speedy child could. It doesn't make much sense. To put another animatronic or don't have one at all, this really shouldn't be an issue. I mean, it really isn't an issue. Like I said earlier, these kind of things don't really ruin the game, like, at all. But I bring them up because they could have been so easily fixed, but they just aren't. Once Gregory upgrades Freddy, he has to make his way to the exit doors at 6 a.m. Once he does so, he and Freddy have a conversation, which makes just no sense. Okay, so Gregory tells Freddy that the doors are open and they can leave. However, Freddy says that he can't leave, as without recharge station, he will power down. Then Gregory says this.
Freddy, if I leave now, nothing will change, will it? There will be more disappearances.
Yes, I am afraid that is correct.
At no point in this game have disappearances ever been mentioned, and it's only brought up again in one of the endings in the form of a newspaper. Why introduce the fact that there have been disappearances at the Pizzaplex at the very end of the game when it can't really be expanded upon? Who thought this was a good idea? But that's not the worst part, because then Freddy mentions Vanny. That's might seem normal, but keep in mind, I went to multi-golf instead of Faster Blast, which means I never got to the secret room where Gregory and Freddy learned Vanny's name. So Freddy's saying her name, even though he doesn't know it. How did nobody catch this inconsistency while playtesting? Was this game playtested? No. Whatever, I'm done complaining about the stories and I'm just gonna talk about the endings. Okay, hi, it's editing me from the future. Before we move on to the endings, I just want to talk about what I think the story of this game should have been. I was gonna do that originally, but I forgot to put it in my script, so I'm gonna do it now. I think the story should have rolled around the Gregory and Freddy trying to stop Vanny and free all of Freddy's friends before the doors open at 6 a.m. because not only would have given a reason as to why they don't just hide the entire night, but also would have raised the stakes a bit, as now they gotta stop Vanny and stuff before there's a bunch of guests coming in and all the evil animatronics attack them. It also would have given Vanny, the main villain, some screen time. So, okay, well, I'm gonna go back to editing, so, bye. This actually will be quick because I honestly don't have a lot to say about these. All the endings in this game but one are told through comic books, which makes no sense. This game doesn't really have anything to do with comic books, so like, why are the endings in this style that, might I add, look kind of ugly? I'm pretty sure the endings are like this and not animated because it ran out of time for something, but I don't know, Steelwool could just deleted the game again because honestly, it needed one even if the endings were animated. Also, the endings don't have voice acting, which kind of sucks. And was in a bad ending, Gregory leaves the Pizzaplex and gets caught by Vanny. Womp womp. In the loading dock ending, Gregory the child drives a truck out of the Pizzaplex with Freddy Fazbear in the passenger seat and runs over Mapbot. This is the ending I choose to believe is canon. Also in this ending, Monty replaces Freddy and Glamrock Mr. Hippo takes Monty's place. This ending is great! However, this ending does kind of confuse me because if you remember, Freddy said that he can't leave the Pizzaplex because he needs to be charged at recharge stations. But in this ending, he does leave, and when he runs out of power, Gregory just turns him back on with the car battery, so Freddy doesn't need recharge stations. The VIP ending is the one talked about earlier where Freddy Fazbear pushes Vanny off the roof. If only that was animated. The first Vanny ending starts with Vanny using the staff bots to rip Freddy apart in an animated cutscene, but the actual ending is in a comic book art style, and it kind of makes sense for this one because Gregory ends up trying the staff bots to rip Vanny apart. That's weirdly dark for a game that censored the word blood. Anyways, Freddy dies in this ending, so R.I.P. The last line Freddy says here actually has voice acting, which just makes me wonder why none of these other lines in the endings do. The second Vanny ending requires that you beat all the Princess Quest arcade machines. The Princess Quest games are actually pretty fun, I like the gameplay in them. Anyways, this ending starts the same as the last, but ends with Vanessa being freed from Glitchtrap's control and Freddy being ahead, so cool, I guess. Ruin implies that this was a canon ending of Security Breach, which is good because the ending that was initially canon was pretty bad and it involved
Get a load of this guy.
This section might be a bit confusing and all over the place because honestly this thing confuses me a lot. Burntrap is a big dumb stupid character and I don't like him. Burntrap was first introduced in the third FNAF game, and the ending of the game revealed that he was secretly possessed by a purple guy William Athen, who was first introduced in the last game as a spooky scary killer guy. Springtrap doesn't have any more meaningful appearances in games until FNAF 6, where he returns as Scraptrap, an ugly guy nobody likes. At the end of the game, Scraptrap and the other animatronics got center fire, and while his souls within the other animatronics get to finally move on, William Athen is tortured for the rest of the time in Ultimate Custom Night, where he must do things like help Toy Freddy beat a video game. So now Athen has spent an eternity listening to hippos talk about birds. He's not gonna come back in future games, right? I mean, he is back, but also not really. I'll get to that soon. I just find it weird how I know where Burntrap's doing up is. There's absolutely no hint at there being anything underneath the Pizzaplex throughout the entire game, let alone the main villain of the franchise. That would be like if in the last 5 minutes of Despicable Me 4, Vector from the first movie showed up and began fighting Gru.
Happy birthday! day, dear Dan.
Actually, that might have happened. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm pretty sure that's implied that Vanny was helping bring Burntrap to life. So what if throughout the game, in addition to the random messages you find stuff for Vanny talking about how she's bringing something to life under the TetraBitGaming. Honestly, I would have made the reveal that things she was bringing to life with William Afton pretty cool for like 5 seconds until you remember that his story had a perfectly good conclusion and that he doesn't need to show up anymore. Anyways, in order to find Burntrap, you need to ruin the lives of every animatronic and go to the sinkhole underneath Roxy Raceway. Once you turn on some generators and avoid endoskeletons, you enter the pizzeria from FNAF 6. I don't understand why this pizzeria is underground. It got set on fire, and last I checked, things that catch fire turn into ash. They don't go underground. Also, this is where the blob is introduced, and I also hate this thing. The blob is an amalgamation of multiple animatronics, those being Circus Baby, the Puppet, Funtime Freddy, and FNAF 1 Bonnie and Chica. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me because Funtime Freddy should be part of Molten Freddy, who got set on fire in FNAF 6. Circus Baby should be Scrap Baby, who got set on fire in FNAF 6 as well, and Puppet should be part of Lefty, who, you guessed it, also got set on fire in FNAF 6. Also, FNAF 1 Bonnie and Chica weren't even in that game. I guess these could be replicas. It would make sense for Fazbear Entertainment to make multiple casings for the same character in case some child barfed on one or something, I don't know. But that still wouldn't make sense because at no point in FNAF 6 was it hinted at that it was replicas of these animatronics somewhere in the pizzeria. I don't think it's replicas though because the blob is alive, and I don't think that would happen if it was comprised of a bunch of random animatronic replicas. Also, how did the blob even happen? What kind of fire not only sends an entire building on the ground, but also combines animatronic heads into a big blob using a bunch of wires? Okay, but enough about the blob. This section is supposed to be about Burntrap. Remember a minute ago when I said that I'd get talking about William Afton being back, but also not really? Yeah, it's that time now. You see, while the other two games after the Ultimate Custom Night had Springtrap variants, those aren't actually Afton. No, these are actually something called the Mimic, I think. The Mimic was first introduced in a Tales of Pizzaplex book, something only 10-year-olds and people majoring FNAF lore have read. The book seemed to imply that Glitchtrap and Burntrap were actually the Mimic, mimicking Afton's behaviors because they saw him do a murder or something. I don't know. I don't actually have a problem with the Mimic. I actually think they do have a lot of potential. What I do have a problem with is the fact that before Ruin, they were just being used to bring William Afton back again. I like Glitchtrap, but honestly, I would have preferred him to be an original character that had absolutely nothing to do with Afton. Not only would having Afton not coming back mean that people wouldn't think that FNAF 6's ending was ruined until the Mimic was revealed, but also would have foreshadowed a brand new, super scary, super evil character that would be the next main villain in the franchise. At least I think the Mimic is a new main villain. I thought the same thing about Vanny, but as I said earlier, I have no idea what's going on with her. Another problem I have with the Mimic is that while Tales of Pizzaplex books were announced before SecurityBreach came out, I mean that Mimic was probably planned to be a thing since the game came out. There is no foreshadowing to this thing's existence. I mean, there kind of is, but all the foreshadowing was found after Ruin. I'm pretty sure foreshadowing for a character is supposed to be found before that character is actually revealed. Poor foreshadowing of the Mimic led to people thinking that Burntrap was Afton again for almost 2 years. Except I lied because Burntrap might not actually be the Mimic. In fact, he might not even be real. Okay, so in Ruin, you can find panels from the comic book endings, and into that they were drawn by Gregory. These comic panels include all the non-canon endings, and the Burntrap ending is one of them. So Burntrap never happened, right? However, in the drawing, the blob can be found as well, and that's real because it's in Ruin. So does that mean that Burntrap is real as well? How did Gregory find out about the blob if the ending where he goes underneath the Pizzaplex apparently didn't happen? Also, I'm not even sure if Burntrap is the Mimic because I'm pretty sure the Mimic can only change its shape, not get new ones, and Burntrap very clearly has human parts still. This thing confuses me, and I hate it, so I'm done talking about it, except not really, but I still gotta talk about the fight. In the fight, you have to find Burntrap on TV's screen, set him on fire whenever he's trying to hack Freddy. However, Chica, Monty, and Roxy are there, and they're trying to catch you. This doesn't really make sense because Freddy says that the elevator you're taking to go underground does not follow safety standards and can only be used once. So like, how did these animatronics get here? Anyways, to avoid Chica, you have to close the door. To avoid Monty, you have to close vent, and to avoid Roxy, you have to hide inside of Freddy. Also, the blob's tentacles show up and accidentally just walked into one, so that was fun. Whenever you die, you have to go to the generator section again, and like, why? Why can't you just start at the beginning of the fight? Anyways, in the actual ending, Burntrap gets set on fire, the blob catches him, and Gregory and Freddy leave even though the elevator is broken. Awesome. I guess I'm done talking about this game. Not really sure how to transition to the conclusion, but hopefully before I start recording this, I'll come up with something cool and awesome. In conclusion, I think that SecurityBreach is a fun game. I find gameplay really important when it comes to video games. Really controversial take, I know. I think that SecurityBreach has fun gameplay. But I was saying that SecurityBreach is a disappointing game. The game generally could have been one of the best FNAF games yet. It had so much potential, but it just didn't live up to it. The game is buggy, things were covered from it that not only could have added more replay value, but also just made the game more fun. And of course, the story is a confusing mess. I wish they would decided to make smaller non-VR FNAF games before SecurityBreach, because this massive game was this small studio's first non-VR project. So obviously some of the content gets added in a future update, but I doubt it will because this game is turning 3 this year. I don't know, maybe they'll do something for Ruin's anniversary or something. If you watched the video all the way through, I'm kind of surprised, honestly. Thanks for listening to me complain about the Funny Bear game at like 100 miles per hour. I know I talk fast. It's, I try not to. Now, if you excuse me, I've got to start editing this video. Probably gonna take a while. Bye, I guess.